But even the Dunedain of Gondor allow us this credit. Hobbits first put it into pipes. Not even the wizards first thought of that before we did, though one wizard that I knew took up the art long ago, and became as skillful in it as in all other things that he put his mind to. Hey guys, Yoistin here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. I come to you all today with a new video exploring the foods, drinks, and halfling's leaf, or pipeweed in Middle-earth, since, for us in America, Thanksgiving is coming up this week, and the holidays are coming up soon, so I thought it would be a very appropriate time to make such a video. We won't explore the more generic foods and drinks found in both our world and Middle-earth too much, but more so we shall look into the ones Tolkien created for Middle-earth. I'll link some related and helpful articles and videos in the description and cards above, so I hope you all check those out as well. And please stay to the end of the video to hear about our Men of the West merch giveaway we are doing with this episode. Without further delay, let's begin our tale, my friends. We shall first begin our discussion with the special and diverse foods in Middle-earth, so we won't talk too much about the typical foods, such as taters, fish, and gathered meats or berries, but I should say that these were general foods in Middle-earth. Taters were especially loved by hobbits, but perhaps the most renowned of the special foods in Tolkien's works is the Elvish waybread, lembas. Koimas, meaning life bread, is the Quenya name for it. This bread is given as gifts from Yavanna to the elves, from Melian the Maya to Turin Tarambar through Beleg Cutholion, and from Galadriel, daughter of Finarfin, to the Fellowship of the Ring. According to the chapter of lembas in the Peoples of Middle-earth, it was originally made by Yavanna from special corn in Aman, and Orome gave it to the elves for their journey westwards towards Valinor. It became an elvish custom that only women should make it, and the people who knew the recipe were called Yavanildi, and Yavanna became known as Messanie, the lady, and Besain, bread giver. In Melian's time, it was the custom of the Eldalie that only the queen should hold or give it, and it is possible and even likely that a similar tradition was held with Galadriel, for although she was not a queen, she was the Lady of the Galadriel, and it is from Lothlorien that lembas came to the Fellowship. It was a wafer or thin cake that was light brown on the outside and the color of cream on the inside, and it had powers of healing and strengthening imbued within it, for it would not take much lembas to give one the strength needed for a full day's march. According to Gimli in the Fellowship of the Ring, it far surpassed the cram of Dale or even the honey cakes of the Beornings. In Melian's time, the elves had wrapped them in silver leaves, sealed with knots and a wafer of white wax upon them in the appearance of a single flower of Telperion, and Galadriel's lembas would also be wrapped in leaves. Of all foods in Arda, these wafers would provide the greatest aid to their hosts on their adventures, but they were rare gifts indeed to receive. However, it should be noted that Gollum and especially orcs were disgusted by lembas. Now, while we are on the subject of the children of Húrin, we have earth bread, which was an edible root that was similar to bread in its qualities after boiling. Mim and his sons of the petty dwarves were carrying sacks of these plants when Turin Tarambar came upon them, and the dwarves would share this food with Turin's company at Bar in Danwith, but not with the outlaw Ulrod who had insulted Mim. Now we come to Daelmin's cram. Cram was alike to biscuits, with little in terms of taste. It was used for food on journeys, and it was formed from tightly compacted flour or meal. If one added milk or honey, cram would taste better. It was created by the men of Dale and Laketown, which was traded to the dwarves of Erebor, and after their stay in Laketown, Thorin's company used this food on the rest of their adventure. As mentioned by Bilbo in The Hobbit and Gimli in The Lord of the Rings, Beorn and his folk made honey cakes. Now, the making of such food was a secret, but they were twice-baked cakes with honey in them. Some of these were given by Beorn to Thorin's company after they stayed at his home. But in the time of The Lord of the Rings, Gimli said that the Beornings were none too eager to deal them out to travelers then. This takes us to the end of our food section, so now let's speak about some of the renowned drinks of Tolkien's works. Now, there are many drinks that are similar to the ones we find in the world today, such as wine, beer, ale, coffee, tea, water, and others. But there are some others that are worth mentioning as well. It is said that places such as the Green Dragon Inn at Bywater, the Ivy Bush on the Bywater Road, the Golden Perch at Stock, and the Prancing Pony at Bree, among other inns, had some of the best beer in Middle-earth. Old Wynyards in the South Farthing of the Shire and Dorwinion in the east, northwest of the Sea of Rune, produced wines of their own, and they were renowned. Bungo Baggins laid down some bottles of old Wynyards, and his son Bilbo gave a dozen such bottles to Rory Brandybuck, the master of Buckland, when Bilbo left the Shire, and Frodo drank the rest ere he and his friends set out on their own adventure. The wine of Dorwinion was the most renowned export of that city, and it was traded even as far as the Elves of Mirkwood. Now we come to Mirovor and Mirovore, generally translated as precious juice, which was a special type of cordial of the Valar and Elves. Now Mirovore was the nectar of the Valar crafted from the flowers of Yavanna, and it was poured during the festivals of the Valar. And Mirovor was a clear and colorless draught of Rivendell, with a pleasant smell that renewed the energy and strength of its drinker. Perhaps it was akin to Mirovore, or was named after it. Elrond gave a flask of Mirovor, called the Cordial of Imladris, to Gandalf, ere the Fellowship began its journey, and it was used to revive the strength of the Fellowship on Caradhras. Other races possessed similar draughts, but Mirovor was the most powerful. As a side note, in the Book of Lost Tales, Tolkien played with the idea of limpe, which was a drink that could change a man into an elf with one sip, and Irial, or Alfwine of England, was the only one in the tale to drink this. But this was just an idea in some of Tolkien's older notes, and is not something I consider to be canon. Now getting back to our story, Athelas, while not used in drinks and is used rather for its scent, is similar to healing draughts, for when kingsfoil is dried and crushed and then boiled, the scent of it gave off healing properties and an enheartening fragrance. Athelas was used by Húrin to heal Beren during the First Age, so it must have grown in Beleriand, and then it grew in Númenor and the places where the men of Westernesse settled in Middle-earth, during the Second and Third Ages respectively. Athelas was also used to heal characters such as Frodo, Merry, Faramir, and Éowyn by the hands of the King Elisar. But to get back to draughts, even orcs had a draught to keep their energy, and some was given to Merry and Pippin after they were captured by Ugluk's force. Merry felt a hot, fierce glow inside, and it diminished his pain, even though it was not very filling. Finally, there is the Ent draught, created and consumed by the Ents, and Treebeard shared this drink with Merry and Pippin in his home of Wellinghall. It was a mysterious drink, crafted by the Ents, but it seems to have been made from river water, and its essence was of the forest and nature. The first time that the hobbits drank it, it reminded them of the smell of distant woods brought by a cool night breeze, and the next morning they drank from a different stone jar, and the draught was earthier, richer, and more sustaining and food-like. Likely these were two different types of Ent draughts, as one was taken at night and the other in the morning, and they produced different sensations. Thus we come to the end of our drink section. Now let's move on to the Halfling's Leaf. Pipeweed plays an interesting role in Tolkien's universe, as it shows some ingenuity and speciality on behalf of the hobbits that no other folk had. The pipeweed plant is a strain of the herb Nicotiana, or tobacco plants, and it grew in Númenor and was brought to Middle-earth and Gondor by the Númenorians during the Second Age. The men of Gondor knew it as Sweet Galanas, or Westman's weed, and it was prized for its fragrant blossoms. Now it wasn't until the Third Age, and the plant grew wild in Eriador in the north, possibly having been brought there by the men of Númenor or their descendants as well, when it was first put into a pipe and smoked. Around the year 2670 of the Third Age, pipeweed became domesticated by Tobald Hornblower in the South Farthing. In the prologue of The Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring, there is a small section dedicated to pipeweed, and after the War of the Ring, Merry Brandybuck had authored a treatise called Herb Lore of the Shire that discussed the history of the Hobbit art of smoking pipeweed, and tell of Merry's writing is in the prologue of The Lord of the Rings. Apparently, it was the Hobbits of Bree that first started the art, and it spread to other lands and cultures, particularly to men, dwarves, and even wizards. There were different varieties of pipeweed to be found in Middle-earth, such as Longbottom Leaf, Old Toby, Southern Star, all from the Shire, and the less popular South Lynch from Bree. When Gandalf had taken up the art form from the hobbits whom he loved, he was criticized by the head of his order, Saruman, who himself eventually took up smoking and gathered pipeweed from the Shire, as indicated by his stores of pipeweed, found after the destruction of Isengard. But Gandalf was one of the best at smoking pipeweed in all of Middle-earth, and he was seen blowing smoke rings. In Unfinished Tales, during a White Council meeting in 2851 of the Third Age, Gandalf smoked the Halfling's Leaf ere the council ended. Quote, Gandalf did not laugh again, and he did not answer, but looking keenly at Sauron, he drew on his pipe and sent out a great ring of smoke with many smaller rings that followed it. Then he put up his hand, as if to grasp them, and they vanished. With that he got up and left Sauron without another word, but Sauron stood there for some time silent, and his face was dark with doubt and displeasure. End quote. This made Sauron suspicious of a connection between the halflings and the Rings of Power. Pipeweed would be used by our Hobbit heroes and Gandalf, and it is a staple of culture in our stories in Middle-earth, as are the unique and special foods and drinks as well. Thus we come to the end of our tale about such things. From the special foods, drinks, and halflings leaf in Middle-earth, we see simple things have great meaning, and even in times of danger and darkness, these simple measures bring people together with happiness. Mayhaps our lesson here are some of Thorin's final words to Bilbo Baggins ere he departed this world. Quote, "If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world." End quote. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and share this with a friend. Let me know any thoughts, questions, additions, and corrections about the special foods, drinks, and halflings leaf in Middle-earth in the comments below. I really love these elements of Tolkien's works, for they build the universe and make our characters more relatable and simple, just as we people are. Please check out our music channel, Facebook, Twitter, merch, and Patreon for our Discord server and latest podcast episode, where Royan and I talk about the video and tabletop games built around Middle-earth. Links for all of those are in the description below. A huge thank you and shout out to our Valar tier patrons on Patreon, Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, and Marseille. Thank you guys so much. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button to join the Men of the West and all of the Free Peoples today, and I'll see you all again next week with an updated video on the Orcs of Middle-earth. We are doing a giveaway in today's video. I'll be giving away a Men of the West shirt with our new logo on it from Spreadshirt, and all you have to do to enter is state which food, drink, or halfling's leaf you would most like to try and why. I'll choose a winner after about 24 hours or so of this video going up, and I'll reply to your comment to let you know, and then I'll need you to contact me either on Facebook or Twitter or by email within another 24 hours, or I'll have to choose another winner. Please let me know your name, shirt size, and shipping address, and I will get that all sent out. It's just a little way of me to thank you guys for all of the continued support and love for the channel. I really appreciate it. Well, my friends, have a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate it this week, and if you don't, have a great week either way, and I will see you all again next week. As always, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one, my great friends.